With me here today, we have Neil Prowse, the lead geo at our NAK project near Smithers, BC. Just wow, Neil. Some great intercepts there. Whole NAK 23-11, almost 500 meters of over 0.6% copper equivalent. We had some intervals within that of over 100 meters of almost 1.05% copper equivalent, and another great interval of over 200 meters of over 0.9% copper equivalent. And 2310 was no slouch either. He had over 350 meters of over 0.4% copper equivalent within a really wide intercept of over 800 meters of 0.36% copper equivalent. We're hitting copper and gold everywhere. We're continuing to learn this ore body. Before we got there, I think there's only 4 holes drilled over 200 meters, and we had next to no data at depth. And what's really impressing me is the progression here. See a lot of companies hit really great holes, and after that, it's disappointing. But we started off with 0.37% on the first really deep drill hole ever drilled this property. And our first drill hole this year was 0.5% over a really long intercept of over 800 meters. And right now we just hit over 0.6% copper equivalent over another wide intercept. So it just shows progression. We're learning this ore body, and it's big, it has scale, and it has grade. But I want to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the visuals we were seeing in hole 11 didn't disappoint when it came time to get the assays in. And what we're learning now is that stepping to the west of the drill fronts we drilled in 2022 it is proving to be the right area to be looking right now. We're seeing really complicated geology, lots of overprinting alteration types with that dominant magnetite biotite alteration, hosting a lot of disseminated chalcopyrite with some bornite, molybdenite. Now we're starting to see an increased abundance, and a bit more pyrite as we step to the west and get into that phyllic alteration. But yeah, so we're seeing really encouraging grade over broad intercepts, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of the holes we're drilling to the north and south of this as well. We've had some pretty positive visuals in the holes we drilled to date, and we have a lot of indication from these early assays that there's going to be some pretty strong gold support with that copper mineralization we're seeing.
Really impressing me. Look at the historical work in the area, that Belgrano mine that was mining for 30 years. Some of these intercepts we have are a lot better. They show tenor that they have up there in the Golden Triangle, but we're close to Smithers. We have great infrastructure. So, what is this ore body? Why does it seem like it's so much higher grade than a lot of stuff in the Babian region?
Yeah, to be determined. It's a really interesting one. We're seeing host lithologies that are consistent with what they're finding at Belgrano and Morrison. The conglomerates we know are really good at hosting disseminated mineralization. But especially up in the north, where we drilled hole 4 last year and hole 12 this year, we're seeing quite a bit of bornite veining, and then we're seeing these secondary phases of porphyritic dikes that host abundant disseminated bornite and chalcopyrite. So a bit more of a complicated system, it looks like, and that's leading to some really strong grade, and particularly some really strong gold grade. This hole 11 had by far the best gold interval we've seen at depth. We know near surface in the south zone we have quite a good interval of good gold mineralization, approaching a gram per ton over 100 meters. We've got that down deeper in hole 11, so it's very good to be seeing.
So last year we had 7 drill holes. Of the 6 of them, they're either vertical or south to north facing. Tell us about this year's program and why these westerly holes really kind of open up the understanding of our ore body and help us kind of better understand the geometry, which in hand helps us better understand where to drill to get better results.
Well, last year we had a limited 1-year permit, and we were testing a proof of concept of a geophysical anomaly at depth. And the most efficient way to test that is to drill steep holes and get to those areas of prospective geophysics. This year, we know we've got broad geochemical support for a robust copper system. And this year we wanted to really expand the scale and properly explore and understand the geology and geometry of the potential deposit here, which is why we're drilling these inclined holes and stepping out to the west, that big step out in hole 9 to the east, which was very encouraging. Yeah, we want to understand the orientation of these dikes that seem to be bringing in lots of copper. We want to understand the overall scale of the package of mineralized rock, and the best way to do that is to drill these inclined holes.
So we have scale, it looks like. We have grade. We have a great location. Now, can we talk a bit about the blue sky? From what I understand, we're still open to the south, to the west, way over there to the east. Just tell the audience, how much more potential there is and how little there really has been drilled on this property.
Yeah, again, even our modest step out holes are still over 100 meters, so we're dealing with very large scales here. And I mean, I was particularly encouraged by what we saw out to the east. We know out to the west we've got some very strong grade, and it is open to expansion considerably to the north. But hitting the strong gold grades right off the top with strongly anomalous copper on as wide a step out to the east as we drilled in hole 9, that's also very, very encouraging. It was completely untested ground, and what we now know about where the best mineralization lies proximal to the main Babian porphyry stock, south of hole 9 is completely open and highly prospective. So that's going to be an area of focus once we can get a little exploration drill punched in there, and we can do the exploration there a bit more efficiently than with the helicopter work like we had to do this year. I think that's going to be, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what comes out of that area.
So it's safe to say we're gonna go back to that 9 area and drill it out next year,
Oh,
albeit.
absolutely, yeah. That's kind of a no-brainer at this point.
So just briefly, what's the plan for the next hole once we're done hole 15?
Well, hole 15 was a step out to the south of hole 11, and we're about halfway down that hole right now, and it's looking fairly encouraging. But we really want to tie up the mineralization that we're seeing off to the west in the south zone here with what we're seeing down deeper in the north zone. And if it follows the sort of circular path that the surface geophysics does, especially that IP chargeability halo, there's some pretty good indication that it continues around to the west and then will curve back up to the northeast in the north. So we're going to step about 150 meters to the north of hole 11, where we can put a collar that is in a good position for the skid drill. And we're going to drill that to the west. It's similar orientation we drilled hole 11. And yeah, really encouraged to see what comes out of that, because there's a roughly 500-meter gap between any drilling to the west in that area, between what we know in the north and what we have in the south here. So yeah, that's the next move, and we'll see what that looks like before we plan the final few holes of the program here.
Okay, Neil. Well, look, I'm really excited about this program. Everywhere we drill, we're coming up with great results, coming up with copper and gold, and like Charlie said many times, like you can only be lucky so much. And making the
Yeah,
Hall of Fame, you got to hit 300. So it's only hitting 3 hits of every 10 at bats, but it looks like every single at bat we're getting on base. Not always a home run, but singles, doubles, and in this last hit that we had on 23-11, it looks like a triple, but I still think we're still zeroing in on the really high grade area, the fire, and I think we still have some chances to get some more home runs, if not a couple grand slams. So that's a little baseball analogy. I'm a big fan. We're still in the season, but I'm extremely excited. The one thing that I kind of focused on that you said earlier, you said this NAK is complicated. Now we have an investor, his name's Otto, I'll call him. And the one thing all these big ore bodies have, Escondida, El Teniente, even Grasberg, one thing that they all have in common is they're all complicated. But we're lucky. We have our targets in place. We're hitting mineralization in every hole. And it's like AI. The more drill holes you put in the ground, especially in a property where there really has been no deep drill holes, you're starting to understand more and more about the ore body, which helps you zero in on better drill locations to better understand it. And with hole 8, that was a moment where I thought, well, heck, this can really be a mine someday. And have these follow-ups of 10, 11, I've really added to that encouragement. So I'm extremely excited. We have a lot of news to come, a lot of catalysts. Again, I said before, we're giving the photos when the holes come out. This is all about the assays. That's when rubber hits the road, and that's really the end of it. We're gonna give a lot of assays, we're gonna have a lot of news, and I'm sure a lot more people are gonna pay attention to the story. I think it's the best story in BC. I think we're a step above our peers, and we'll continue to prove that with great assays. So thank you very much, Neil, to you and your team. You're spending a lot of hard work there. But stay tuned. AE on the TSX Venture, American Eagle Gold.